Hey, how's it going, everyone? Today we're going to be doing my first review. It's going to be of Doctor Who, Series 1, Episode 1, titled Rose. I'm only going to be reviewing the new Who stuff because I've not watched any of the classic era Doctor Who. So basically, starting from Eccleston on or the Ninth Doctor on is what I'm going to be reviewing. It's going to be a playlist. It's going to last quite a while, probably. I'm just going to go episode by episode until we're either caught up or whatever. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy the video. Definitely make sure to give it a like and see you guys next time. So we start off, we see a young British 19-year-old, on her average day. It's the early 2000s, 2005-ish. She's working in a retail store, going to lunch with her boyfriend, and as she's wrapping up her day, she's like reminded by a security officer to bring the lottery money down to the basement. Now, while she's looking for someone named Wilson, realizes there's no sign of him. She hears a noise and goes looking, assuming it's Wilson. She enters a room full of mannequins, though. As she goes searching, she gets locked into the room by an unknown force. Uh, as she starts looking around, the mannequins start to come to life and slowly backing her into a corner as they just are about to strike her with a Jackie Chan style karate chop. In this moment, this is when the Ninth Doctor himself comes in, the big boy, Christian Eccleston. The Ninth Doctor, I mean, I absolutely love this guy. He's so good as a doctor, and he's just gives this vibe of like he's like the warrior, he's just so good, and you're going to see that more throughout the episodes as we review the other ones. And he comes in, he saves the day, he saves Rose. So he starts to lead her down a hallway from the mannequins. They're like falling at a brisk pace, and honestly they don't seem that dangerous, but I guess they are. So as they enter an elevator, the doctor is just able to pop off one of the mannequin's arms to kind of stop it from prying open the elevator. Now they have a bit of a conversation here, which I actually think is important because she argues that those like must be students to pull off such a large group coordinated prank like that. That's what she thinks it is. She thinks it's a prank. But which honestly, with the information that is presented to her and like basic human knowledge that she has, that's like a reasonable assumption, of course. And then, of course, the doctor responds with a almost like condescending tone. He's like,
That makes sense. Well done.
as he most likely assumes that this girl is like to be another human who would likely refuse to see the truth. Like when in reality, it is clear Rose is certainly a critical thinker, but she's still limited by her human ignorance. So immediately after this, the doctor does still explain to her as if perfectly regular and normal, seemingly expecting Rose to just brush it off as a madman's story, as he's likely used to. This also shows the doctor's human social ineptitude at this point. Like, I mean, major spoilers for the 50th anniversary here. So skip ahead a bit if you don't want to hear spoilers for the 50th anniversary. But he has just gotten done fighting the Time War as the War Doctor and likely hasn't had a human companion in quite a long time. Because we know in previous Doctors he's had human companions. So it's not like this is his first interaction with humans. But, so it's probably been a while now. But, Rose, she runs off after hearing the Doctor's plan of blowing up the device controlling the mannequins on the roof, still holding the mannequin arm, kind of showing her level of shock still. I don't know, so that's interesting, running off with it, not even worried that she's still holding it. But, we skip ahead a bit and we see that she returns home. We meet her mom, who is quick to insult her to a friend on the phone after seeing the explosion on the news, which is like, your daughter just got back from an explosion. I don't know, your first thing you do is call your friend, but, she got her tea, so she's clearly like a good mom. She sees her as more of a friend than anything else, that rather than her daughter. In the same scene, we are introduced to Mickey, her boyfriend, who is worried she hasn't been answering her calls, fearing that she may have been injured or killed, like as a reasonable person would be. So this kind of establishes Mickey's love and care for Rose, with her responding, "Oh,"
I'm so fine, don't leave the fence.
which is pretty much Rose's favorite thing to say to poor Mickey. As throughout the run together, Mickey worries dearly for her, which she often just responds coldly and brushes it off. But we'll get to that in another episode. You're going to see it a lot. In this moment, Rose is, however, being questioned about what happened, to which like she responds by protecting the doctor and being dishonest about what she really knows. Kind of already showing her eventual infatuation with him. Mickey, though, he wants to go watch the last 5 minutes of the soccer game at the pub, or sorry, football game at the pub, trying to under the guise that she needs something stronger than tea, but and on his way out, Rose asks him to take the arm with him. I'm sure that won't be a problem at all. That's not gonna cause any issues. So Mickey throws away the arm on his way to the pub, and we get a nice cut into the next day through the garbage bin. We see that Rose and her mom bicker a bit, and Rose checks the cat door her mom was meant to have nailed shut, and she sees that the nails are pulled out of the door and open the flap to find the doctor on the other side, where she pulls him in after he tries leaving, thinking he traced the wrong signal back to her house. After a brief encounter with the mom, who's certainly, let's say, like lonely, I guess is the best way to say it in a PG way, but he takes a look around the apartment as Rose makes a good old cuppa, which cool detail. He looks in the mirror in this moment with like mild like satisfaction, hinting he is still getting used to his new face after having recently regenerated from the War Doctor or John Hurt. But he hears like the same noise Rose heard, which is like that little pitter patter, thinking like, oh, she must have a cat, and Rose is like, no cat. And so he looks behind the couch to see what it is, and then the mannequin arm that Mickey had supposedly thrown away jumps back and starts choking him. Uh, you know, and the doctor frees himself, but at first Rose thought this was just like a funny thing because Mickey was pretending to choke himself with the arm as well. So he's like, "Oh, I don't know what it is with all you guys. You making the same joke with that thing." But the doctor frees himself, and as it begins to attack Rose, who just doesn't even realize, the doctor is seen adjusting his sonic screwdriver, and he stops the hand, all the while cracking jokes, showing how like regular and normal this is for him. Now, something I hear a lot though that this scene kind of shows is that the doctor can be too silly or like too goofy sometimes, like making jokes about serious matters. But honestly, like a lot of people overlook is that like if he were to let all the bad things he sees get to him, he would be a total mess. He needs to diffuse these situations with humor to help cope with the amount of trauma he would have. I mean, he's seen some pretty messed up stuff. He's gone through things. He's died 8 times at this point, right? So, this is something like real world firefighters and police do. Their sense of humor is often like dark, as it's like the only way to cope with what they deal with on a daily basis. Uh, but anyways, yeah, now we see the doctor running off with Rose, prying for information as he refuses to tell her. She's just trying to get whatever she can out of him, and he's like, "No, I'm not gonna tell you." And honestly, the way I see this, it's like he's trying to stop himself from telling her because he knows that given the chance to, he's gonna tell her everything he can because he likes talking about stuff. He likes talking about himself, and he likes talking about things he knows. But we are immediately introduced to these two's like immediate chemistry. It's like they just flow so well with each other, and that's why, in my opinion, this is like probably the best doctor companion relationship. Like, I don't want to say it's my favorite doctor or my favorite companion, which they're up there for sure, but like just the relationship they have between doctor and companion is honestly the best in the series, in my opinion. Uh, but obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, so. In this, though, the doctor does explain his heightened senses for not just like the world, but like the universe around him. Uh, Now, if this doesn't like perfectly capture and reflect how the doctor is almost all knowing, but more accurately all feeling, he's just like I don't know what else does. Because it's just like it shows the amount of compassion he has. Because it's not that he knows everything. We see he doesn't know everything. There's things he doesn't know and doesn't realize, but he can feel everything around him, and that's kind of what makes him so important and special. Like despite what would be so overwhelming to everyone else, the doctor displays kindness and compassion, willpower, and determination through it all, no matter what, and often to his own, and even people close to him to their detriment, because like he cares so much that sometimes it puts himself and others in danger. And then so we know doctor runs off and after telling Rose, and Rose is like, I'm interested about this guy. So Rose does some investigative research, and that leads her to someone who has apparently been researching the doctor or stalking the doctor basically. Somehow this guy has a picture of his new face, of Christian Nicholson's face. And at first you're like, what? Wait, I thought this was brand new, whatever, right? But then uh honestly, the best way to explain why this works, just you got to hear it from David Tennant himself.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
So, this internet nerd explains why he is so interested in the Doctor, showing his spouts throughout time. He was like here, here, here. His face is everywhere. Somehow he's like in all these pictures and paintings. He's everywhere throughout time. And, this is kind of where Rose gets some unsettling info, which you'll hear right here.
He has one constant companion.
Who's that?
Death.
So, as Rose is talking to this guy, outside, Mickey, who brought her here, is currently being eaten by a living plastic garbage can. And an unconvincing duplicate of himself uh, then takes over Mickey's spot, and we go see Mickey and or fake Mickey and Rose have dinner together. During this dinner, the Mickey is trying to get information about the Doctor, essentially, and as a waiter starts to bother them, they both realize it's actually the Doctor, and Plastic Mickey attacks both of them. So as they're running away, the Doctor and Rose, they run off with the severed head of Plastic Mickey that they took, and they run off to the TARDIS, where we see Rose enter the TARDIS for the first time and struggles to deal with the idea of it being bigger on the inside, which of course every companion struggles with on their first entrance to the TARDIS. And let me just honestly play this quick clip of this because it's just so impactful and I feel so important to display the feeling the TARDIS gives.
Get through that door? Believe me, they've tried. Now, shut up a minute.
You see,
Oh man, that's so good. But anyways, this scene is just another example of the Doctor's lack of human social awareness. Because not even thinking what could have happened to Mickey, because since he was a duplicate and the Doctor and Rose argue, and he's like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. And Rose is like, how could you not think about that? That's my friend, that's my boyfriend, right? Um, Mickey's head is being used by the Doctor to track where the living plastic radio tower is, or like the headquarters, right? And it starts to melt, and he's like, oh crap, I don't want it to melt, I want to track. And Rose is like, how could you be just like so worried about this? So but they arrive, right? And the Doctor starts talking to Rose, and tells her why the plastic's attacking, and also uh basically it just needs Earth for its resources because its planet got destroyed. But also, Doctor explains the TARDIS a little bit, like just a little bit. He just tells her why the TARDIS looks the way it does. It's just a disguise, apparently. We don't hear that much more about it. We will, though, later. So, in this moment, the Doctor is talking to Rose. He's looking for a structure capable of transmitting the signal. Uh, and as the answer eludes him, Rose seems to point it out immediately. She just knows. She's like, oh, that's what you're talking about. Uh, and this kind of just, I like that scene. I'm going to talk about that later. But, when they find out that it's the Ferris wheel, they both rush underneath to find the source of living plastic, where they also find Mickey alive and well. Well, definitely physically well, not so much mentally, probably. But this is where the Doctor also gives the creature a chance at a peaceful resolution on behalf of the human race, which does not go so well. So they restrain him and reveal that they have the TARDIS, seemingly mad at the Doctor and blaming him for the destruction of their own planet. And it's like interesting because oh, okay, so this Doctor has had interactions with this creature before, maybe, or similar moments, but it also seems that they're mad at him for the destruction of even his own planet, which we definitely see later, or I guess earlier, but later in the show. But it's just interesting to see that set up so early in the show. However, after realizing though that he does have the anti-plastic that he showed to Rose earlier, uh, to destroy the creature with, it sets off the final phase because the creature got mad. So it turns all of the plastic in London into living plastic to take over the human race finally. Which only London, I feel like London's big, but to take over the whole world, I guess you got to start somewhere, right? They're gonna build more, but we'll see. So as London is attacked and the Doctor struggles to fight off the plastic, Rose, we learn, was like a gymnastic championship, and so she takes up a chain. She swings to help the Doctor, knocking off the plastic men, but the anti-plastic as well also falls with the men into the creature, causing it to get destroyed and cut off the signal. Now, we see that the Doctor was trying to have a peaceful revolution earlier, but he doesn't seem that upset right now that it didn't end up peaceful. This kind of shows this doctor's personality. He has to try to be the compassionate doctor he is because he just got done fighting a war, you know? He has to remind himself to be compassionate sometimes, which I just think is interesting. We do see that throughout the his series and his run as the Doctor as well. So as the Doctor and Rose and Mickey barely escape in the TARDIS, all the mannequins are deactivated and London is safe. Now the Doctor lands the TARDIS. Mickey runs out, and he's obviously struggling with the concept of it. And Rose, she calls her mom, make sure she's safe. We see a little bit of that earlier, and all seems well. Now, when the Doctor's about to leave, he does offer Rose the chance to come with him, and Rose clearly wants to, but she declines as Mickey holds her and cowers against her as they watch the TARDIS dematerialize. She walks off with Mickey, clearly saddened, as we were here, that beautiful whooshing of the TARDIS as it rematerializes, and the Doctor mentions that it also travels in time, in which Rose basically leaves a riddle with Mickey and runs off with another man. She says, "Thank you," and he's like, "For what?" And she's like, "Exactly." And it's like, "What?" And then you just run off with some other dude in a TARDIS time machine? Like, all right, whatever. All right. Now that we have the plot summary out of the way, I just want to talk about a some of my opinions on this episode. So the first episode, in my opinion, is like one of the most Doctor Who esque episodes. Now I've never watched a classic era, like I said, so I don't know how it compares to that. But this episode just like perfectly establishes the main characters of the series and how they relate to each other, and just showing how Rose and Mickey are your typical young love scenario, with Rose wanting so much more out of life, and Mickey being content with his everyday life with his normal girlfriend. So there's just going to be a lot of like animosity between these two. And honestly, most of the time, Mickey is justified in his feelings towards Rose. But no matter how many times she hurts him, he's always going to have a soft spot for her. Now, this actually like perfectly mirrors Rose's relationship with the Doctor throughout the series as well. No matter how many times the Doctor may put her in danger under the justification of adventure, she will always go back with him as he makes life so much more exciting. Now towards the end of this episode, we see the Doctor's underlying character trait, and that is compassion. In almost every scenario, the main thing he wants is to make sure everyone wins, or at least no one dies. He shows like the utmost compassion for even the strangest creatures, as we see with the plastic creature. Any human would have no issue immediately destroying the creature, especially under the threat of world domination. But the Doctor sees on a more grander scale, seeing that if he solves anything with violence, or everything with violence, then he's only doubling the amount of it. Despite being brazen about death in dark situations, the Doctor truly cares, as we see when he knew Mickey was safe all along. Only was so cold and seemingly careless about it because he knew that he would have to be okay. Therefore, it wasn't his highest priority to comfort Rose in that moment. So that still does reflect his social ineptitude, as mentioned earlier. Overall, I give a solid 9 out of 10. Now, something I want to do for each of my reviews is pick a favorite scene of mine and explain why it is my favorite. So, for this episode, my favorite scene is when the Doctor is looking for the structure capable of transmitting the signal, as to me, this shows why he needs a companion so bad, just throughout the series of Doctor Who, especially a human one. The Doctor is so used to looking into complicated matters that he often can forget to look at small details. Saying that the structure must be invisible or some other type of complex reasoning, he can't find it. And of course, the human Rose points it out immediately, showing her grounded, relatable level of knowledge. And this allows the Doctor to see things from what is essentially a lower life form view, but more importantly, a view of simplicity in a world that he is so constantly overwhelmed with information in, as he had explained to Rose earlier. Being able to feel the universe around him must be very, very overwhelming. But with that, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I can't promise a regular upload schedule, but if you enjoyed, let me know, as well as what you want me to review next. I'm definitely going to keep doing Doctor Who, but I would love to review other things as well. So definitely keep a lookout for everything I'll be posting to this channel. Also, please let me know what needs improving. I'm open to criticism, and I want to make sure that everything I make is up to par to everyone's entertainment standards. So other than that, you guys have a good one. See you next time.